Good morning,
Good morning,
everybody.
everybody.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Julie
Julie
Talks
Talks
Money.
Money.
It's Friday, June 12th, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today so that we can talk about your money life and other money issues that are in front of us. And also, I've got a couple of fantastic guests that are really going to, I think, entertain you and give you some solid information that you'll really enjoy. One is a published author, self-published, and teaches other people how to publish their own book and how to monetize that, which is a great thing to do right now during the pandemic slowdown of everything. So there you are at home, and you can actually start putting your mind to doing some writing. It's good. And my other guest is a co-founder and president of Black Women's Wall Street. We'll be talking about how you can do some other empowering of people, mentor people in your community, and also she wrote a Single Mother's Guide to Wealth. So it's going to be a really interesting show, and I hope that you'll enjoy it. My name is Julie Phelan. I'm your host, and I'm here every week on Friday, and it's on KMET ABC 1490 AM. So I hope you're listening either on TuneIn Radio or KMET TV, or just listening live from the website or wherever it is that you can, maybe even in your car. People still have that. I think you might even be able to tune it into Sirius. I'm not sure. But my name, I'm sorry, not my name. I am a financial lifestyle coach. Not a financial life coach, but a lifestyle coach. And what I do is try to help people get from where they are to where they want to be. And this is not through the cookie cutter methods that some of the other people out there are talking about. Those are all good and those all wonderful. But we all have different goals and we all have different ideas of what it is that financial literacy and financial success or security mean to us, right? So that's one of the things that I talk with people about. That's one of the things I also try to bring to you each week with the guests that I have, so you can see and hear about some different things and different methods people are using to make some money or grow it or keep it and or protect it. Those are my four main things that I'm always discussing. How do you make more money, grow your money, keep it, and protect it? Because let's face it, those are the things that we really all need to know, especially when we have a pandemic or a disaster like we have now. We've had the pandemic with COVID-19. Last summer, there were wildfires, and there were a lot of other disasters where homes were destroyed, properties and business were destroyed. I hate to say it, but in recent weeks, some businesses have been destroyed because of some of the activities that have been going on in the street. So how do you prepare for those? Well, that's another one of those things that we talk about throughout the show. Week to week, it's a little bit different. I told you in January that 2020 was going to be the year to be prepared. And that meant be prepared for a whole lot of things. Nobody could have foreseen what we've had going on this year, which has been truly one for the books and a most unusual year with all the things that have been going on with the pandemic, with the lockdowns and the having to work from home, businesses having to close, service industries, retail, restaurant, that sort of thing, having to close their businesses, millions of people laid off, millions of people applying for unemployment, having a stimulus check from the government that has helped to tide us over for a little bit, but without the help we've also received from the government in the form of not being able to be evicted, at least in LA County, and I think throughout most of the state of California and other states where there's been sort of a moratorium on evictions. Banks having to agree to forbearance on loans, meaning that you don't have to pay your mortgage for a couple of months if you make that arrangement with the bank, and actually putting that onto the backside of your loan, meaning at the end they'll just tack on those months. It's very unusual too. And one of the craziest things about all this is that in spite of that, housing prices are still stable or even going up a little bit. Not very much, but they are a little bit higher than they were last year. So what explains that? That's one of the big conundrums that we have and one of the big questions, because, normally if you have something where it appears that the market is going down, a bunch of people will be jumping into it, and then, if the market goes down further, then they're going to be really in trouble. If you are buying because you're expecting appreciation to happen, and then it doesn't happen and there might be some decline, then you might be caught in what we call a bull trap, where you're expecting the market to keep going up, you're bullish on it, and we've seen that because of the real estate prices and demand and supply factors. But then we may end up with something that was like 2008, 9, 10. We're not going to have a financial meltdown, I don't think, to that extent. But what is going to happen to housing prices when you have millions of people out of work, millions of people unable to pay rent or mortgage, not having an income, not having something coming in? Then you can actually be trapped into that very situation. Flippers get caught in that a whole lot, where they continue and expect to be having an increase in the prices of the housing. So, of course, they're buying something a little bit lower, adding some amenities to it, fixing it up, and then expecting that they'll be able to sell it for a profit. Well, if they can't because the market changes, then there's a decline. They're caught in that trap, that bull trap. So I want to make sure that nobody is caught in that trap, and we'll keep an eye on housing prices and the market prices as we go. One of the other things that we'll be talking about, too, is the Great California Exodus. You've seen a lot of news probably about that, and there's certainly a lot of YouTube's videos that you can watch about that, because it's real and it's happening. There is a exodus, and we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the show. But if you stay tuned, we're going to have my first guest coming on in just a couple of minutes. And stick with me. This is Julie Talks Money on ABC KMET 1490 AM. And welcome back to Julie Talks Money. My name is Julie Phelan, and Julie Talks Money coming to you every week on Friday. And I am delighted to have as my first guest today a woman who is a powerhouse in her own right. Her name is Jacoi James, and she comes to us from Mansfield, Texas. She's been in business for a long time and has been in the tech field, and she also worked for the IRS, but not in a frightening way, so don't be scared with that stuff. She has a small business consulting practice, and she is a published author of The Single Mother's Path to Wealth, which, and I love this, of course, highlights single mothers who have a desire to acquire wealth. She's also the co-founder and president of the nonprofit organization Black Women's Wall Street, which is based in Mansfield, and its mission is to empower Black women and the community they serve by providing training on business principles and financial literacy. She's also a tax preparer in the Fort Worth area. So thanks for joining me today, Jacoi.
Thank you for having me, Julie. This is great. Thank you.
I'm just so excited. So tell us about Black Women's Wall Street. How did it start?
So Black Women's Wall Street, just a funny story, you know, me and a couple of friends, we sat around my kitchen table and we were talking about how a lot of our experiences, life experiences, have been similar, but then also unique and different. But each of us shared the same passion to not only continue being business owners ourselves, but then also helping to empower, to educate, and equip other Black women just like us. And so Black Women's Wall Street really was born around my kitchen table at home. And it was just like-minded individuals. We just had a passion for business, but we also had a passion for doing our part in the community to help educate and empower others just like us.
How long ago was that?
That would have been, we would have been officially incorporated and established our 501c3 status as of September 2018. So just a couple of years back.
Okay, interesting. And how did you guys get that name or pick that name?
You know, so that is also interesting as well, because most people, when they hear Black Women's Wall Street, we usually get people that are taken aback, like, ooh, you know, that's a name, like that's a powerhouse name. Mm-hmm. But to say that that's something that we came up with on our own would not be, you know, 100% truthful. You know, there's a lot of history behind Black Wall Street. A lot of people don't know about Black Wall Street in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. And so Black Wall Street was a commercially successful affluent Black community where you had a lot of Black business owners that established a very successful number of businesses, from grocery stores, banks, newspaper, hotels. I mean, it was truly booming. And this was going to be back around 1906. And so that started about 1906 back in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But then, of course, to kind of save some time on that, in 1921, almost exactly 100 years ago, there was a Tulsa massacre that caused that entire area to be completely destroyed by fire by those that just didn't agree with what was being done with the successful community that was up and coming for the Blacks in that community. And so Black Women's Wall Street really just came about because of the passion behind that story, but then also because of wanting to make sure that we help to position the Black women in our own households, being, our brains are wired to be to be the CEOs of our household. Why not take that same mentality, right, and apply that to our own multi-million-dollar enterprises? So that's really it in a nutshell.
I love that. And the power of women also in creating things just by coming together and having a group. I think there is almost nothing stronger when you have all these people who are nurturers and who have been, like you said, the CEOs of their own households. But so many things have been created just by women getting together and saying, hey, let's do something.
Right.
I love
Agreed.
that. You've done that.
Thank
So
you.
when you were starting your businesses, did you have a mentor or somebody who helped you out?
You know what? That's a good question. I will say that, I've always had spiritual mentors. Like my aunt, Glenda, she was a spiritual mentor and still is a spiritual mentor for me. But to be completely honest, when it comes to the world of business, I would say no. I really had to carve my own path. I went to school and got my degree in business, and I carved my own path in exploring the world of self-employment, business, and entrepreneurship. So I didn't have anything like this in place, which also feeds into my passion and my desire to have something like it today, because I've run into so many different women that say, listen, I need this. Where are you? So I've just taken it upon my own self, between myself, my board members, we've taken it upon ourselves to be the ones to help to grab the hands of those that need help in what it is that we do.
I personally find that the power of networking is really key, and the power of building your network to basically bounce people's ideas off of one another, to have some help. Have you found that to be the case for you and for Black Women's Wall Street also?
Absolutely, 100% true. And so the thing is I have a really good friend of mine, business partner of mine as well, that really helped to reshape my mindset to understand that if you start to operate business from a relational standpoint rather than transactional, the money will flow, right? And
Right.
so with the networking, with the relationship building, all of that those are going to be key critical components, because at the end of the day, regardless of the product and service that you're selling, people really are buying you. They're wanting
Absolutely.
they're wanting to interact with you. They want to know who you are. They want to know if you, and I say this all the time, people will do business with you if they know you, if they like you, and if they trust you. And that is what really helps to establish a really sound platform for those that are branching out into the world of business, because a lot of that is really going to help carry you forward to sustain the existing customers you have, but then also to get new ones.
Well, I'm a big person and a big believer in referrals and having a referral network, and that's one of the
Yeah.
things my business is built on. So I totally agree with you that you have to have those three elements in order to
Yeah.
build that network and to get referrals from other people.
Yeah.
And, but
Absolutely.
so tell me, how did you come to write A Single Mother's Path to Wealth?
So that too is one of those things that, if someone would have told me 10 years ago that I would have done this, I would not have believed them, honestly. I don't consider myself as an author, but I will tell you that over the past 3 years of my life, and I say 3 years because that's where a lot of things have completely changed for me, with just me changing my mindset, me listening to daily affirmations, different things like that. This is one of those things that really, from a spiritual standpoint, this was just an assignment that was given to me by God to say, listen, you've taken the time to bump your head, to suffer some of the bruises of what it takes, right, to be a single mother. Then why not utilize, your talent, the knowledge and the wisdom that you've gained through this experience and share it with other people. So for me, not only is it just Black women, but it's just single mothers as a whole. Me just having that passion, because when you talk about wealth and single mothers, those two topics typically don't end up in the same sentence. You know what I'm saying?
That's so
Right?
true, right?
And so for me, it really was just that passion. It was just my determination to start the conversation and to really help to shift the mindset of those that either look like me or have a similar background as me, and say, hey, let's change the narrative. Let's disrupt the norm. Let's disrupt societal statistics and what is being said about single parent homes and the children that come from it. So that's where that came from, honestly.
Okay, so definitely a very personal experience that you're sharing with people as well.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
obviously, with a lot of years with the IRS and with the startup business of your own, and also with the is it IT or software, you have a broad experience too.
Yeah, I
Probably a lot
kind
of
of.
different pay scales you've been on, and
Oh yeah.
raising children on your own.
Absolutely. Life is not, we don't achieve life or arrive at life in a single line, right? There's
Right.
curves, there's twists, there's turns. And so, yeah, I've had a couple of different careers, really good careers, thankful for them. A lot of the knowledge and the skill sets that I got from that career really has helped to platform me to the person that, you're talking to today. So I appreciate those experiences. I don't ever regret all of those things that I've experienced.
And I'm sure they're all valuable. And one of the things that I talk about a lot, as you probably have heard or know, is that everybody's situation is unique. Everybody's things is different. You
Yeah.
can talk to other single mothers, right, and they're going to find some of the same obstacles or challenges, but how they're dealt with can be a little bit different because they're going to have the different circumstances. It could be where you're living and the cost of living. It could be the size of the family. It could be what kind of work things are available to you, or even children if you've got teenagers,
Sure.
right? So
Absolutely.
everything has to be approached from an individual, unique basis, but you have to make sure there's different ways, I'm sure, that you're protecting it. And we all have great experience in that, but especially, I think, single moms. Like you said, you're the CEO of a household, and as CEO, you run the house, and you're not necessarily taking care of only yourself. It could be aging parents, could be your
True.
children and
Absolutely
stuff.
true. Yeah, but the thing that I think that is the common thread in any of those scenarios, because to your point, Julie, we all have completely different stories, completely different backgrounds, completely different circumstances. But I think the thing that is the common thread is an individual's willingness and determination to persevere. It really just comes down to that. And so you hear the stories of multimillionaires and billionaires, and a lot of them come from, they come from backgrounds where they were not born into wealth. They had to create that wealth themselves. And so again, that determination, and the perseverance through it all, regardless of the circumstances, I think that really is the common thread, and why you're going to see those that choose to win and others that choose to just allow fear to just cripple them.
And you're right, that can be crippling. So now I am really curious, and I'd love to have you tell us about Idea to Inception, which is a program at Black Women's Wall Street. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Idea to Inception is a platform that we offer on an annual basis in the spring. And we actually, Saturday, tomorrow is going to be our very last session. And so what we do is that we take a number of women through a series of business classes where we literally hold their hand from the very beginning of establishing their vision, identifying their vision statement, creation of their business plans, putting them in front of subject matter experts and gurus. So we bring in individuals. So we link arms with our community, with those business gurus and subject matter experts that will speak to them about digital marketing and branding, that will speak to them about legal issues. So we have tax experts that come in, CPAs and business attorneys and nonprofit attorneys that will come in and talk to them about establishing a sound business entity, or if there's a need to trademark their business. So the Idea to Inception program really is a program to make sure that the women that we link arms with, that we help them to establish a sound, sustainable business. Because anybody can go into business, right? Anybody can hang a shingle on their door and just say, hey, I'm in business. But what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to ensure that it's a very solid foundation and that the sustainability is there so that they can successfully build their business, but then maintain it from and adding in that financial literacy and that financial education as well. And so we carried the ladies through it's about a 4.5-month process. So this is not something that's quick and overnight. We literally take the time to go through each session. There's homework. We review it. We have weekly sessions where we check in with the ladies because we don't want anyone to quit. We want to make sure that everyone moves forward. If you're committing to this and say this is what you want, then we're gonna hold your feet to the fire. So there's love, but there's sternness as well. With the expectations. So the Idea to Inception program really just walks the Black women that walk through this program, helping them to establish their business and also ensure that they have the sustainability to keep it moving forward.
So does somebody have to apply for that kind of program?
They do. So you would have to, any lady that is interested, they would have to apply. There is an interview process because we want to make sure that it is a business that is going to be something that is long standing, right? It's just not something where someone says, hey, I just want to do a little side hustle or something like that. No, we really want to understand what's your passion behind it, what's driving you. Is this really what you want to do? So yes, there is an application and an interview process in order to get into the Idea to Inception program. And all of those details are on our website as well for those who are interested.
And what's that website?
Our website is www.blackwomenswallstreet.org, and that's Black Women's, plural, blackwomenswallstreet.org.
So how often do you run that Ideas to Inception?
The Idea to Inception is on an annual basis, and so it started in March of this year, and so we started that the middle of March, and then that is ending up, as you can see, we're finishing up here in June, and so it's run every single spring.
What kind of businesses do these women have? Are they retail businesses? I'm sure it's not just an online or an SEO or social media business,
Right, you're absolutely right. We have a number of different ideas that are showing up in our program, and it's really exciting. We have event planners that are a part of the program, those that are opening up a pediatric clinic, those that are creating a nonprofit for themselves, or a holistic women's clinic. I mean, there's a number. I mean, there's no one. There's no two businesses the same. So we're seeing some really great ideas that really can stand the test of time.
That's great. Now, you have a podcast tomorrow, right? Tell us real quickly about that before we go.
Yeah. So Black Women's Wall Street, we have a podcast. We actually are partnered up with the War Room Women of God. And so that's through Fishbowl Network. Our podcast happens every second Saturday. So tomorrow, June 13th, is the second Saturday of the month. But every second Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. Now, that is Central Time. But through the Fishbowl Network, we have that, our Black Women's Wall Street podcast, and we talk about a number of different topics, all surrounding business, of course, but then just really, again, the focus is disrupting the norm and to talk about things that are changing and ever improving as we navigate the waters of business.
That is fantastic. I love women who are empowering women. I love empowered women and those who are moving forward in their community. Teaching definitely is one of my passions, as you know. I am a firm believer, as clearly you are too, in financial literacy, because otherwise, how are we going to be moving forward on our own? Thank you so much for joining me, Jacoi. I really appreciate it. If anybody out there wants to get in touch with Jacoi James, you can call me at 626-460-1188. That's 626-460-1188. 626-460-1188, and I'll be sure to connect you to Jacoi. Again, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you've taken. I look forward to talking to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julie. It's been a pleasure.
Lovely. And this is Julie Talks Money. We're going to take a little break here now. And when we come back, you're really going to enjoy my second guest, Latasha Jimerson, who is going to take some of these ideas a little bit further. You're listening to Julie Talks Money on ABC KMET 1490 AM. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Julie Talks Money. This is Julie Phelan, your host, here every week on ABC KMET 1490 AM. And I am so excited today. It's kind of been a financial literacy day, and that's, of course, one of my huge things that I'm passionate about. It's key. I mean, that's basically key to my business and to my coaching. But my next guest has taken it an even step further. She is here in Southern California also, and her name is Latasha Jimerson. She basically, years ago, maybe not that long ago, started by writing a book to help herself out of a depression and basically kind of a funk that she was in. She is a school teacher, though, and she created a character, essentially, to kick her in the butt, LT, as she calls it, and stuff. We're going to hear about that a little bit, and she's going to tell us also about how you can be a self-published author. Please welcome Latasha Jimerson. Hi, Latasha.
Hi, happy Friday, Julie. How are you?
I'm wonderful, especially now that you're here. Thank you. So I wanted you to, first off, tell us a little bit about your launching your company. Well, actually, and I don't want to get to that. First, I'd like to ask you basically how you started writing in 2016.
Absolutely. So 2016 was my midlife crisis year. Well, one of the midlife crises, but that was my career crises. And I was wondering, what else can I do as a teacher? I had already been in for about 14 years, and I was starting to get tired and stressed and really was trying to figure out how to do the work-life balance thing. And so I ended up having 2 surgeries that summer, back to back. One was for a hernia, and the other one was for a cancerous tumor. And so through that healing process, I didn't have anything else to do except sit in the house and write. So at the end of the summer, I went back to work, and I had a new, renewed sense of self because I had a book with me. And I was able to talk about it and share it with people, and people were buying it. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even think anybody was going to care about my healing story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought people were going to think, well, whatever, that's kind of boring. But lo and behold, people were calling me, asking me for interviews, and they wanted to talk to me more about my story and dig deep into it. So that was 2016. I published it. It was officially published in 2017. And then it just went on and on from there to the local library, then on to different events, churches, and just different things. It really out of that, depression. It pulled me out of that midlife crisis.
Now, who is LT, and how did that come about?
Yes. Okay, so I'm Latasha Jimerson. Most people call me Tasha or Tosh. But during that midlife crisis, I needed someone that I could talk to, that would be there for me, that would not judge me, and that would really help me to get through it. So I just created this character called LT because one of my principals gave me that as a nickname, and I thought it was really cute. And so when I heard him say that, I was like, wow, okay, LT in the place to be. You need lesson plans? Call me. I was like, ooh, that's something.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I love that.
So he would greet me every day and say, hey, what's up, LT? And I was like, okay, there's something with this. So I took that, turned it into kind of like my alter ego type person. Mm-hmm. That's the aggressive person that is the project manager in me that sticks to deadlines and has to get things done. So
kicks your butt too, I'll bet.
Yes.
Because we all need that.
Mm-hmm.
So you've gone on to publish a few other books, right?
Yes. So then 2018, my oldest daughter turned 18 years old. And it was a blessing and a curse because now all of a sudden she's an adult. So how do I parent an adult?
Mm-hmm.
that was my next crisis. Because she was trying to figure out what to do. Do I go to college? Do I stay here local? Do I go to junior college? So we had all these decisions to make, and it just seemed like that year, 2018, when she turned 18, she just didn't want to hear anything I had to say. So I was like, oh my goodness, I got to reach her. So I wrote her. I wrote her a book, and it was called Sorry Boo, Mommy Lied, and it was lots of stuff that I sugarcoated. Yeah, it was stuff that I sugarcoated, and now she's asking questions, and I'm like, oh no, like I don't really want to tell her the truth about these sensitive issues. So one of the things was, in high school, I had an abortion, and I didn't want her to know that, so I covered that up. I put that in the book, and then that opened a conversation about sex and dating and marriage and a whole bunch of other stuff that she had on her mind, as well as going to college. So that was my second book. Yeah, that was my second book. These books are like therapy for me because I really I get into writing and I love it.
You know, as I have said before and said earlier too, everything and our issues are different at every age, right? And obviously as a mother, that's one thing, but as your teenage daughter was going through a lot of different things emotionally, your book, I'm sure, helped her. And then all the stuff you've been able to teach her too about self-publishing and business, I'm sure has been helpful. So after that, you found yourself kind of in that business of self-publishing, right?
Yes. Okay. So then that was my second book. So then in 2019, I published another book. And I said, okay, you know what? Summertime, I'm not busy. I might as well just publish a book every year during the summer. Let's just see how it goes. So,
well, that's an ambitious program.
Yes. So I said, let me just see if I can do it. So,
how does one do it? How does one do it, and how do you monetize it? That's the most important thing we're all interested in knowing, too, and learning about it. Not the most important, but clearly an important thing. Why would you do it? What's the end goal in mind?
So basically, what I do is I sit down and I write, and then I format my work, and then I send it out to people to read it, and I get their reviews, and then I revise it according to the reviews, and I'm very big on constructive criticism. I tell them, rip it apart. My feelings won't be hurt because this is going to make it better. So that's a painful process. That takes a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months to do because people are busy. And then I just go through the self-publishing process that's laid out with Amazon under CreateSpace. It's very, very, very simple, very structured, but you have to sit down and have the discipline and the time to be able to get it done. That's
okay,
really
wait. What does Amazon have to do with this?
Well, that's how I published my book.
Oh, so did you write a book and you published it and you have it bound and you just had it up as a seller and you put it up on their site? Or how does that work with them? I think you told me you had an ebook.
Yes.
But you have a book too, right?
Yeah, I have 5 self-published paperbacks, and they have ebooks, and you can go on Amazon.com and purchase them.
Okay, so we were having a conversation a couple days ago, and you said that Amazon will actually print the paperback for you. How does that work?
Yeah, that system is called print on demand. So whenever one of your readers actually goes on the site and purchases the book from you, they print it and they send it to the reader.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That's really amazing.
It's super awesome because I can order my own books as an author, but there was one book that I published, and one of my friends who's also a teacher, in the summertime we like to read a lot. I put on Facebook that I had published this book. It was probably like on a Monday, and by Saturday, she called me and said, hey, I have your book. I read it. It's awesome. When are you going to write the next one? And I was like, oh. I was like, wait a minute. Hold up. I didn't even get my author copies. And she goes, well, I have Amazon Prime. So I was like, oh.
Get it quicker. That's funny. That's funny. So what if you go to an event and you're speaking and people want a copy of your book? Are you able to provide copies of that in advance?
Yes.
Do you have to order them from Amazon in advance to get printed ones?
Yes, I have my own bookshelf in my house of my books that I take with me everywhere.
Wow.
I sell them out of the trunk of my car. I went to a conference in March in Sacramento, and I brought a whole bunch of books with me and sold them there. So it's beautiful. What Amazon has done for authors like me is
Mm-hmm.
marvelous.
It sounds wonderful, and it's like something anybody can do, especially if they got downtime, or not downtime, but free time, a little time on their hands, like during the lockdown and coronavirus pandemic, right? So you also told me that you can turn one book into three separate products. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes. Okay. So my first book that I published in 2017, I am getting that put into audio files right now. So the audio files will be on Audible at the end of July. So you can get those. I'll send you a link where you can get those. But the book is already in print, but I have an ebook that goes with it, and it's going to have an audio at the end of July. So that's three separate products that you can sell for money on the internet by writing just one book one time. You have three products. So that's the mind shift that I want people to think about when they're at home and they're on the internet anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You write a book one time, you're going to get royalties on that book for the rest of your life. And if
So
you
what,
want,
you got one paperback book, the ebook, and then the audiobook? Is that the three products?
those three separate products, yes.
Hmm. Wow, it's fantastic. So what if I don't have the time, or I feel like I don't have something to say that would be 150 pages or 200 pages? Because the books that I read usually are about that length.
Yeah. So what I do is I offer coaching for people that are struggling with that very issue. A lot of people say, I don't have anything to write about. But if you look at your life, if you've been on this earth for at least 30 years, you've got 30 years of street knowledge, you've got 30 years of mistakes, and you've got 30 years of things that you didn't think you could do. So that's a story.
So your own story is just, if people really would write by that, if you write it, are you interested?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody has a story. That's what the biography channel says. Every life.
That's true.
And if you think about the things that you've been through and you really want to be honest, because that's the thing, people don't want to be honest and keep it real. If you keep it real and you look at all the stuff that you've been through, there's a lesson for you and there's a lesson for somebody else. So 2016, when I came out with all my stuff that happened to me as a child, all of those things were lessons for me, but I'm a teacher. So that's a lesson for my students. That's a lesson for my three daughters. That's a lesson for my husband. That's a lesson for everybody to learn from. So if we start to look at our lives as a story with lessons, then we won't have a problem writing books.
Well, that's true. I guess it only takes a couple people to buy your book or to be touched by it for it to be successful, in my view. So you have a class that you do, and you're actually having a webinar coming up, I think, and you also, what do you say, transform busy writers into amazing authors. I love that as a book coach, and yet you're still teaching high school. How do you combine the two?
Yes. Okay. Let me tackle the first part of that question. Okay. So yes, tonight I have a webinar. Friday night, every Friday night at 5, I do a webinar to explain what it is that I do in detail. And then if anyone wants to be a part of my coaching program, they just go to my website, click the button, and schedule an appointment. That way we can have a conversation and find out if this is something that they are ready to do, because you have to be ready for this.
Okay.
The next part is, what was the second part that you asked?
Well, before we get to that, how would somebody check out your webinar? It's happening today.
Okay, so what they can do is just send me an email and I'll send them the Zoom code.
Okay, so everybody can send me an email at julietalksmoney@gmail, and I'll forward it on to Tasha. Again, that's julietalksmoney@gmail, and we'll send you the code for the webinar, or send the information to Tasha. So the other thing was, are you still teaching high school, and how do you combine the two, if you are?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I teach during the day, 8 to 3. I still go in my closet. I'm in my closet right now, actually. And I'm assignments online.
Literally?
Yeah, literally. And my students work on them, and they turn them in, and I give them feedback. Everything's online right now. So I run my business after work. So from 4 p.m. to about 7 p.m., I'm working on my business. And then from about 8 to midnight, I'm writing, and I'm really reflecting on what went well for the day.
Well, I guess you have a wealth of material each day.
Oh, yeah. I'm writing. I'm up all night writing. I was up last night till 3 a.m., and then I called my mom because she's on the East Coast, and I talked to her.
How many people are actually still reading actual books and online? Are people still buying books and reading a lot of books?
Yeah, I just found something online the other day that said from February 2018 to some month in 2019, the percentage of sales of books on Amazon was 15.9%. And there's this pie chart that I showed during the webinar, and it shows that the biggest part of the pie is still books, ebooks, audiobooks, paperback books.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
People are still reading. I didn't think people were reading because my students don't want to read for me. Yeah,
I bet. But it's the adults who are always seeking out the new information, and we're always trying to educate ourselves. We're always hungry and thirsty, right, for new information.
Everybody's on their phone. They're looking at, stuff on Twitter. They're looking at YouTube. Like, everybody does want to learn something, and so they're consuming. Like, we have to kind of take the word reading and expand that.
Expand it how?
Well, like, as a teacher, I originally thought that they are sitting there with their textbook open and they're reading and we're talking about the text. Okay, but that's not the case for some kids because some kids are better listening to the book on tape. So I found ways to get access to things on tape. Some kids are reading the textbook online. So my district has a McGraw-Hill contract, and they have the textbook online. So the kids can look at the book on the Chromebook, they can listen to the book, because the book will read to you. It's amazing what is happening with books now, because people don't want to sit down and take the time to do the traditional reading, especially if your eyes get tired quite easily. And so we have to expand reading from just sitting and looking at a book to driving in the car and listening to an audiobook, or being at the doctor's office and your child is sitting next to you with a Kindle and they're reading an ebook.
That's true.
Or grandpa is still reading the newspaper.
We have so many different ways to consume and to get information now. It just blows my mind. And thank God that there are those different sources, since we have had so many months that we've been locked down, and a lot of things are probably still to remain where we're going to be staying indoors and doing a lot of things. Listen, Tasha, I'm so glad that you joined me today. I really look forward to talking to you again. And for everybody who's listening, you can also go to the page on KMET Radio 1490, and you'll be able to see a logo there for LT, the Buddy Teacher. You can click on that, and you'll get to Latasha's website. Same with Black Women's Wall Street. And then you can get more information that way. And as we said, she's going to be doing a webinar later this afternoon. So email me at julietalksmoney@gmail.com, and I'll forward that on to Tasha, and she will get you the code for getting into the free webinar this afternoon. Thank you again so much for being with me, Tasha. I really, really appreciate it. And best of luck to you. Best wishes in your next book. I look forward to start checking them out one by one.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy Friday.
Thanks. You too. Bye. Okay, this is, again, Julie Talks Money, and I hope that you've enjoyed my two guests. Education is my passion, and education is so key to everything that we do. And there's so many different ways that you can make money in this world that we have right now today, because of the technology that's available to us. I mean, did you ever know that Amazon would print a book for you? Maybe there are some of you who do know that, but I sure didn't. Now, that would be a side hustle to start with, but eventually it could potentially be a full-time job for you. So we have to look at lots of different ways to increase our financial health and our financial position and practices. And one of the things, of course, is through real estate. I'm really surprised that we haven't seen a bunch of the gurus coming through town, but mark my words, they're going to be here as soon as we're able to have events again. And those are going to be the people saying, hey, come on to this free seminar and I'll teach you how to flip houses. And you can make $100,000 doing it or $50,000 doing it. Or you can do that for the marketing programs. You can find them online. People say, hey, I'll teach you how to market. I'll teach you how to do this. And then you find out that they want to charge you $20,000 or $25,000 or $30,000 or even more to attend their courses. And a lot of people are going to be, hey, I have been losing money. I haven't gotten unemployment, haven't had my job. Now I need to do something kind of like a get rich quick. I hate to call it that, but that's what a lot of the gurus do call it, or look at it that way, although they're the ones getting rich, not you. So I'm just going to caution you to do some diligence, read a whole bunch of stuff on your own, and you can always contact me about real estate investing or flipping houses. And I know a number of people I can also put you in touch with. But if you want to do something like that, be very, very careful and make sure that you don't get caught in your own kind of bull trap with thinking that everything is going to be great and the prices of houses are going to keep on rising forever. And hey, this is an easy way to make money. I mean, let's face it, most of the people who've been in the stock market for the last 10 years don't know anything except increasing stock values. And we have seen increasing house values for the last several years since the 2008, 9, 10 crash in housing when people couldn't give their houses away. But, all things have a finite end. Trees do not grow to the sky no matter how much water and sunlight they've got. And financial growth and appreciation do come to an end at some point. And we have to remember that everything happening from this pandemic of COVID-19 is a worldwide problem, so it's hitting the worldwide markets. You can talk about assets and securities they have, but if you're looking at things that go up and down like the stock market, you're probably going to be in a little bit of trouble. But if you talk about real estate, which is one of my things and one of my loves and passions, at least you have something that is a tangible asset that over time will go up. And we'll be talking about that more next week. I'll be talking about the California exodus again a little bit more. Where are people going and why are they leaving California? There's a lot of reasons for it, from taxes to politics to the cost of living. So I'm going to be having as my guest a couple of people who live in other states, and they're going to be telling us about the people who are retiring or moving or students who are going to their states and why they're leaving California to do this sort of thing. Again, my name is Julie Phelan. This is Julie Talks Money every Friday at 10 a.m. Hope to bring you some tips and tools and financial information that you can use to increase your money life and to help you make more, keep more, grow more, and protect more. Until next week, it's the same. Have a wonderful week. This is Julie Phelan. Bye-bye.